Here today what we're going to do is a mini documentary of Mike Tyson. Of course, Mike Tyson is a very documented person, so you can go watch a bunch of different documentaries of him already. This one is going to be different. With that said, what I do on this channel is cannabis related documentaries, but I also do interviews, and I'm going to be doing a bunch of MMA/boxing content as well, whether it's documentaries, interviews, and just stuff along those lines. I think that you will definitely enjoy the content if you enjoy this one. So watch it to the end. If you enjoy it, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Michael Gerald Tyson was born on June 30th, 1966 in Fort Greene, New York. This was definitely a child who had a very hard upbringing. His father left him very early. His mother would feed him alcohol and weed when he was young to try to get him to go to sleep. And if anyone has experienced either of those things, it's not necessarily something that's going to put you to sleep. It might make you want to stay awake. This early on led to Tyson having a drug abuse problem, which would make him have to get some fast cash. He wasn't in a family that had a silver spoon to him, giving him all the things that he wanted and desired. He actually was in a situation that was the complete opposite of that. So this led him to have to get some fast cash, and of course, if you know what that means, it's not necessarily legal. But early on, he actually was someone who was more of a loner. He was someone who stayed to himself and was actually bullied by the people you would think were more popular. One day Tyson had enough of this, and the reason why is because someone tried to steal his pigeon. When they tried to steal his pigeon, he just had enough and he knocked the guy out. He put the guy to sleep, and once he realized he was able to do this to people, it's game over. And also, when people in the neighborhood found out that he was able to do this to people, they also were putting money on him, and this led to him to be able to make some fast cash in these street fights in his neighborhood. Of course, getting fast cash in this type of way is going to lead any young kid to try to use it in any which way they can, because you're probably gonna not necessarily save that money. If you're getting it quick, you're gonna spend it just as quick as you're getting it. And what this led to is Tyson was stealing money, whether it was from houses or just taking women's purses. And this is actually something that's well documented. There's actually someone that went on Vlad TV and had an interview where they were talking about it, which is just amazing. I'm gonna put it right here, but I'm gonna put the link in as well, because I know how Vlad is about anyone using his stuff. Let's get back on track though. He definitely was getting money in a very fast way, which is just no good for a kid, and this led to it advancing. They eventually were breaking into houses, and he had a few different people he was doing it with. One of those people that he was with one night ended up getting killed, and this was just enough for Tyson. This was the breaking point where he's seen that it was just not going to be something that had a good final resolution to it. Of course, it's hard to leave a lifestyle like that when you're living in a very fast way. Everyone has to adjust to the change, and luckily for him, around this time is when he met the person who was basically the savior of his life. This person who I'm speaking about says that he actually summoned Tyson. He needed a killer. He needed an animal, someone who was fearless and someone who was ready to do the job that he told them to do. This person that I'm speaking about is Customato. This man is someone who not only lives on with an amazing legacy, but he goes on to teach people to this day. He is someone who, if anyone listens to anyone speak about him, then you will leave there inspired. It is someone that just rubs off on you to this day, which is just amazing to have that type of legacy. But what he did with Tyson was he unlocked the animal within Tyson. He did it by taming him first though. And when I say taming him, this was not easy. Tyson even says that immediately when he seen Customato, he was thinking that the guy was some old perv. Which, hey, if there was some old guy that was trying to act wicked nice to me, I would think the same thing.
I can say honestly I have a very deep affection for him, I do. And he gives me the motivation. I will stay alive and I will watch him become a success. Because I will not leave until that happens.
So I don't hold that against him, but it was definitely something that was very interesting. It was something that Tyson was not used to. He was not used to any love. He was not used to any sign of affection. So when someone is telling you that you are the greatest, you can do all of these different achievements that you don't believe that you can do, it will definitely very much cause you to have a weird reaction, and having the reaction where you want to actually rob the guy isn't necessarily a bad thing. Did Tyson do it? No, but it is something that was something that I wasn't surprised to hear him say. And Tyson is very honest. Tyson is someone who was able to not only learn a lot from Customato, but he is now someone who seems to live on the legacy of Customato, which is someone that everyone should look at as a role model. In everyone's life, you need someone that can be a powerful role model. And when Tyson found this man, it was a game changer in his life and just everything. He brought him into his home, and he was very close with his family as well. This was amazing. This was something that very much was needed for someone like Tyson, and of course, it didn't soften him. It didn't soften him one bit. What it did is strengthen him. And from here we can go on to talk about all the different ways that Tyson destroyed people, whether it was with hooks or all of the different ways he was able to punch people that they weren't able to do to him, which is something that was just beautiful. It is art. But how was he even able to unlock this in his brain? It was truly off of someone else believing in him. Having that self-belief through someone else is gold. It is pure, and it is something that a lot of people don't have. Someone like Sean O'Malley, he has that. He has a Tim Welch. He has these support systems behind him that tell him that you can do much more than you're even able to do now. And that is something that will much push you further and not keep you back. But you don't have these things forever. And of course, when Tyson lost Customato, it got very hectic. And what I think that we see today is we see a lot of people doubting Tyson because they are reflecting on who he was when he lost what was most prized to him, the role model that he needed to be the conqueror in a peaceful way, or in somewhat of a peaceful way, in a calculated way. Once he lost this and he was off the rails a bit, we started to see flaws. We started to see all these different things that didn't help him in any which way. But what we see now is someone who is not only calculated, but they have experimented with these different psychedelics and things that are able to not only open your mind to things that are holding you back, but also make you at peace with all of the self-hatred that you might have. That's something that is very powerful, and that is something that we definitely see with someone like Mike Tyson today. We see that he is much more powerful today because he's more comfortable with himself. Do I think someone like Jake Paul is just as powerful because of that? Yes. I think that that is something that is very much the key and the driver behind someone like Jake Paul, because anyone that goes up against Jake Paul, they don't want to take the first step and make the wrong step. They almost get stuck in the mud, and that's what happened to Tyson. Well, Tyson's opponents. People were going against Tyson, getting stuck in the mud, not knowing what to do with themselves, and it was purely great for him until he met Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas was coming off a very interesting period of his life where his mother just died, and he was a mother's boy. He was someone who was very close with her in a very good way, and that was something that was very pure, and that was something that was very much going to fuel a demon within him. He released that demon on Tyson, which in the bigger picture, it is something that Tyson needed. Sometimes losses can be the best lessons, and what we see today is someone who is not only calculated, but we also see someone that is conquering age. We see someone that is much healthier than most average men in the world. So there's going to be a lot of doubters, there's going to be a lot of people that are naysayers and all of that cowardly things, but what we see in Mike Tyson is someone who is much, much more prepared to conquer all of those doubts, and he is definitely someone who is prepared for this type of situation, not just mentally, not just physically, but just as someone who has experienced all of these types of situations where it's all odds stacked up against him. And I think he's ready. I think that he, out of all people, is someone who will prove people wrong, and not only do that, but he'll do it in such a spiritual and wise way where someone like Jake Paul will be able to learn from it and move on to be a very wise and respected person. I think losing to Tyson will be the best thing that ever happened to him, and people will go on to very much appreciate him as a human being for dying on the sword in that type of way. But with this said, I think that this is going to be a very interesting situation. This is going to be something that is very entertaining to see, and at the end of the day, will Tyson die in a situation like this? No. Tyson's taken much more harder shots, and he's probably given them to himself. With that said, I think that we all know in a situation like this, it's always dangerous, and it's always going to be extremely detrimental for everyone's future if they get hit the wrong way. So I don't wish this to go bad for Jake or Tyson. I think that this is definitely a very, very historical moment, and this is something that we all have to look at in the bigger picture. So I hope I did a decent job of presenting it in that way. I definitely will be doing a lot more videos in this style, so I hope you enjoyed it enough to hit that subscribe button and follow along with all of the different ones that we post in the future. Much love and respect.